Hey y'all, what's happening? Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so just when you thought Dark Knight's Metal couldn't get any crazier, they go and do something like this. Pretty much throwing a Hulk in the mix. And this is interesting because where we are right now as far as Dark Knight's Metal, as of right now, January of 2018, with everything going on, there hasn't been much noise about this guy in the issues, at least not yet. And the only way I really knew he was coming was because I followed Tony Daniels on Twitter, who's co-creator of this character along with Robert Venditti, and he's been talking about him for quite some time now, because he's posted a lot of the concept art along the way, and over the past few months he's even shown us a lot of the different images of how he looked early on in the design process. And I'm sure him and Robert Venditti went back and forth on a lot of that, and then DC had to approve a lot of stuff too, and there's no telling how long that took. I'm sure it was way before he started posting the pictures, and I mean like possibly even a year back, because DC Comics plans so far ahead and they do it so well. And we see that quality when we get these events like Dark Knight's Metal, because they're so zip tight that you know when new characters like this pop up that it's nothing that's happening just off the fly. And I do gotta say, when it's all said and done, I'm very happy with the final product that they came out with. And I say that because Tony Daniel just delivers these hulking figures so well. And not just that, but when it's time to do some damage, no pun intended, but when it's time for that, he delivers it so well. Like the dynamic visually is just crazy. Like when you read this issue, you will not be disappointed. So now getting more into the origin of this character, I can't help but think of the Hulk first, because the origin of Damage is quite similar to the Hulk, and I would really say your perfect combination of your Ultimates and your 616 Hulk. And it's funny because I know every time we get a character that is similar to another one from a different comic company, you got your people who complain and say, oh, that's a ripoff of so-and-so. And even though Marvel and DC have been doing this for years, we've gotten a lot of great characters out of it. And Damage is very new, so there's no telling how this may turn out in the near future, but as of right now, in my opinion, things are looking good. And so now, as far as where Damage stands in the whole landscape of DC Metal, the event, Damage #1 isn't like your stamp listed DC Metal tie-in, but it does fall into Dark Knight's Metal. And because of that, and the way the issue reads, it really looks like, from the way they have it set up, that he's a character we'll see later on, probably more so towards the end of Metal, but rather than having his origin take place in a Metal issue or in one of the tie-ins, it's done in a short, sweet, standalone issue. And I couldn't agree more with them doing it this way, because you don't want to take away from the main story itself. And even though Damage issue #1 is only like 6 pages long, and you really could have fit 6 pages in any of the issues, you could have. But in my opinion, that would have not only taken away the momentum of the narrative that's happening in Metal, but it wouldn't have done Damage much justice. And so now Damage is a member of the US Army. His name is Ethan Avery, some would call him Elvis for short, but he joins the Army and he's enlisted in a super secret experimental program, which is performed under the supervision of Colonel Jonas. And Colonel Jonas we've seen recently when we talked about the origin of the Merciless in Dark Knight's Metal, because she was there in the Argus War Room where they were deciding how to handle the Nightmare Batman, not too long after they crossed over from the Dark Multiverse. But what's crazier than that, in this meeting she actually suggested to bring in Elvis, otherwise known as Damage, to go in and combat the Nightmare Batman. And as far as time frame, just as a reminder, this meeting is 5 days after Challenger's Mountain just appeared out of thin air, so he's been around for a while. And also at the time of this meeting, the Suicide Squad had previously been sent out directly to Gotham while their signals just went offline. And so now, with us being further ahead and more things unfolding, we know why they went offline. And it wasn't like they were killed or anything, they were more so captured by the Batman Who Laughs. But with them disappearing, this meeting was more so like, what's next? What do we do now? Because at this point, they were just presumed to be dead. And when Colonel Jonas suggested to send in Damage, Amanda Waller shut it down quick. Because even though Damage is fairly new at this point, and he has done some missions before, but at this point, with him being fairly new, there are still some kinks that need to be worked out. Because Amanda Waller is the first to tell us that he can't even speak, at least not while he is damaged. But after his time is up and he turns back into Ethan, we do know that he's able to speak again. And so now this is how it works. When he transforms, he has 1 hour to do damage pretty much. And after that hour is done, he just transforms back into Ethan. And so in issue #1 of Damage, he hulks out, for lack of a better word, while he's being transferred to a location called the Burrow so they can fix these quote-unquote malfunctions that he's seeming to have. But while he's being transferred, he actually transforms, busts out of the plane, and tears up Atlanta. Of all places, man, why Atlanta though, man? I'm from Atlanta, man. Don't do us like that. But I guess that's just us getting a taste of the action because it's usually New York and they get plenty of it. But I do like that DC does this, seriously, because most of the cities in DC Comics are fictional cities. So it's nice to know in DC Rebirth that there is an Atlanta. But as far as Ethan, when he transforms back from damage and turns into his regular self, you can see like the scars on his body, which are possibly bullet wounds or maybe even scars from the procedure. But as far as what we know about his character at this time, he's been suffering this process going back and forth for some time now. And when it comes to the comparison of different Hulks, I can't help it. But I also think of Batch H. When H Alpha was selected for that program, Damage seems to be a bit similar, and only to the degree that I believe that Damage didn't want to undergo this process. And as far as true identities go, and we got more to learn about Ethan, but I feel as far as that they're polar opposites. Because Batch H, or Weapon H, he was previously a mercenary, and as far as Ethan before he came Damage, all we know that he was a member of the army. We don't know how long, we don't know if he just enlisted, there's still quite a bit more to find out. But another one of the quote-unquote defects that Colonel Jonas had mentioned was that Ethan's clock is getting shorter. So usually how you will become damaged for 1 hour and then need 23 hours to recoup, at this point that clock has nearly changed to half the time, because when he breaks out here they're caught off guard because he recovered in only 12 hours. And that's really what messed them up, because my first time reading this I was kind of like, okay, well they know what time he's going to change, why didn't they plan the trip like right when he had turned back to Ethan? But as it turns out, there's no way they could have predicted it because his recovery time keeps getting quicker and quicker. And this also leaves like the window for possibility that recovery time may close completely and he'll be damaged indefinitely. And if that's the case, it's possible that his abilities may change as well in the future. And that's not to say that he's going to be flying around with heat vision and all that, but I do believe that at some point in the future that we will see a strength increase for this character. And there's a number of reasons why I say that for Damage, because with characters of his caliber with this strength, when you first see them, they're going ham, they're destroying tanks, they're punching planes in the face, they're doing the most. And that's how they should be premiered, because you want to show them off and show what they're capable of. But also with these characters, you want to display a limitation, because if you throw their stats off the charts and no one can stop them, it kind of makes them not as interesting. And so with Damage issue number 3, I believe, there's already images online of the cover or concept cover of Wonder Woman holding him up, but you can tell by the cover when he ran into Wonder Woman, she broke him off something proper. Like, it's clear that he got his butt whooped. And moving forward, this is a good sign, because this is a character that we know is evolving and still changing, and for that reason he still has room to grow. And as more of these issues come out and he faces these different challenges, we'll see better what his limitations are and how he evolves over the issues to come. But now the question I have as far as time frame, because I understand with Metal trying to prevent spoilers for certain things, because of that they're being real careful of when they release certain issues. And this came to mind when I seen Damage constrained by Poison Ivy, who we knew was in the Riddler's Labyrinth, and it made me think like, hey, okay, was he sent to Gotham at some point in time after the Suicide Squad had disappeared? But with this I also kind of doubt that's the case, because Evil Starfire had kind of burnt down Poison Ivy's portion like right after Damian, Nightwing, Arrow and everybody showed up. But what I think is the biggest clue as far as helping us with time frame and telling us when everything's happening is when Amanda Waller pops up in Atlanta with Task Force 11, because when she does this we see members of the Suicide Squad who at this point are still being held by the Batman Who Laughs. And when I say at this point, I mean as far as the main issues of Metal, which currently we're at issue number 4 with 2 more to go. But with her showing up here with Task Force 11, it does help us a little bit with the time frame of everything that's going on, because we've been waiting for Task Force 11 to really pop up since was it Justice League versus Suicide Squad, and that was a pretty big bomb at the time, because it let us know that Task Force X was actually 10, and that let us know that there were 9 other teams of suckers running around with bombs in their neck doing work for Amanda Waller. But in a recent issue of Wonder Woman, we kind of see some of this unfold, and this was at the time that Darkseid was still being restored, and we found out that Giganta was stealing relics for Darkseid, but Wonder Woman stopped her before she could deliver the last one. But after Wonder Woman stopped her, Giganta was taken into custody by Argus, and she was asking like, when am I going to get a trial? And Amanda Waller and Trevor were like, okay, get real, that's not going to happen. But it was there while she was being interrogated where we found out that she was working for Darkseid, and we're really not given a whole lot after that until now, where we see her part of Task Force 11, but it does tie some of the strings that help us find out when all this is going on. And on top of that, fast forwarding to where Darkseid was fully restored, which was like the next issue of Wonder Woman, I think. It's the same issue where Darkseid fought Zeus, but as soon as Darkseid was restored, Wonder Woman was ready to fight him, but immediately the Justice League showed up. And just from seeing the members who were there, you got Batman and Superman, who were last at the Forge of Worlds, no Hal Jordan, well, him and Mr. Terrific are probably still locked up on Thanagar Prime, but it just also gives us an indication of time time frame of when all this is happening, which could be in between issue 5 or 6 of Metal, or even shortly after, because there are some residual themes that do occur after Metal. Oh, and by the way, just to let y'all know, Darkseid ain't want none of these problems anyway, because he had just recently been restored and he's not really sure about his strength, be it greater or weaker. So he was just like, nope, I ain't finna take that chance. And so now with those things in mind, if I had to guess as far as damage, when the events of issue number 1 are actually happening, I would have to say it's towards the very latter end of Metal. And I say that mainly because of the appearance of Task Force 11. And with that, using the reappearance of Giganta as a timestamp, it also shows us at that point, especially in Wonder Woman, that we have Superman, Batman, and Cyborg 1 million all somewhere around at this point in time. But talking more about damage, while he's in this form, Ethan also speaks to damage like he's talking to another person. So unlike Banner, who describes when the Hulk is in control, he describes that as just dreaming. With Damage, it's more like he's in the passenger seat and Damage is driving and just doing craziness all over the place. But Ethan is coherent and able to speak to him this whole time. And sometimes Damage listens and sometimes he doesn't. You just gotta hope for the best. And so last but not least, just something to look out for. I would say I'm pretty much 99% sure that this guy's gonna come back, and that's Major Leggett, because as soon as Damage broke free, he was the first one to respond. And lying to Colonel Jonas saying that he was the only one close to a suit to armor up and go after Damage, and I know he was lying because there was another dude standing right there, I saw him. But seriously, he adamantly believes that he should have been selected for the program. And you can just tell they have a history of him telling Ethan for the longest that he doesn't have what it takes, and Leggett feels like he's the best man for the job, or the better soldier. And that person usually never gets picked because they're the most narcissistic, but a lot of the times they eventually come back with some sort of strength or power eventually, because they want to try and be what they're not. But that will do it for this one, guys. DC is definitely beefing up their roster, and I'm happy to say that I haven't come across anybody whack yet. Will it stay that way? We still have yet to see. I know as far as myself, there's still quite a few characters I gotta check out, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted and let you know my thoughts along the way. But for now, I want to know you guys' thoughts. Is he too close to the Hulk, or is it more of a Deadpool, Deathstroke kind of thing? I'm personally feeling the kind of Deadpool, Deathstroke kind of thing, because I feel like they're very close, but strikingly different at the same time. But either way, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you learned something new, smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can catch the spills every week, and we'll do it again next time. Alright, later.